There it goes. Grand rising, everyone. I like coming to life, spread and coffee. Got my coffee here, yum. We'll just start all over again. It's like the bloopers of, going live. Um, I don't know how many I have, but definitely have some. Okay, so anyway, but I like the live, right? That's kind of my jam. I'm not one to like pre-record and then fix it and make it all pretty um and typically it's or mostly because I wanted to do spiritual alchemy emotion. And what that really does mean is that, you're getting on here and it's raw and real and authentic and being as authentic as possible. So a lot of the times, I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. I just get on here and start talking. And of course, because I'm a practitioner of the great work, always have some kind of something to share in terms of process. And then I read quite a bit, and I'm in a master's program, of course, of transformational and transformation and consciousness, transformative and consciousness studies, which is pretty powerful. And what I can say is that I've done a ton of work in transformational work in specifically around ontology, right? Where ways of being, or how do you tap into the essence of who you are, and that literally good morning, who just got on here, to you. And when you're doing that transformational process, it's really quite interesting because you're sort of again peeling back the layers of the I would say the way the ego has constructed itself. Now ego is not a bad thing. We need ego, and ego does give us the opportunity to actually expand our consciousness. But what happens with ego is so much stuff gets thrown into it that may not be ours, but we wear it as though it's ours. In other words, people will dictate to us who they think we are now, or who they are seeing, or who we are reflecting to them. But maybe internally we don't feel that way, and somehow there's not this authentic connection between the internal and external. And so we are trying, hopefully, if you're a practitioner of the great work, to get closer to your authentic self, to who you truly are internally. And sometimes that means that you have to sort of peel back the layers of the social conditioning, familial conditioning, and everything around us that sort of has constructed the ego. And some of it's ours and some of it's not. Some of it is stuff that we just said, okay, we're going to go with it because society says that this is the right thing to do. This is how things should be. So we start to peel that back. Now, when you start to do that and you go through these transformational processes, it can really wreak havoc on your life. It's not easy, it's not fun. And oftentimes people think that a spiritual enlightenment's about this beautiful thing. I think we're starting to hear more and more about how it is actually a warrior's path because you are slaying through some very, very uncomfortable things as you go through the process. What you find though is your treasure. And, alchemy is part of that. It's kind of clearing out all of the stuff or transforming all of the stuff into these great gems of beauty within, and really tapping into that authentic you that's magnificent and beautiful and a jewel and a gem and is ready to co-create with all existence. So the creativity comes out. Now, the transformative studies that I'm doing has taken it to a whole other level. Hey, GP man, how are you? Um, has taken it to an entirely different level. In other words, you think that you're done, but you're never really there. Now, in consciousness studies, they're sort of looking at like through development of consciousness, like, well, how does consciousness develop over time? They've given it these levels. I personally don't believe in levels. I believe in expansion and contraction. And I think that within certain pieces of our life, right, we can look at different domains of our life and say there are certain domains of our life that um, we are more evolved in and expanded in, and others that we're more contracted in. And I and then some of those as we expand start to seep into the other domains of our life. And for instance, or to understand what I'm saying is that We have, maybe finances, career, maybe family, friends, recreation, education, relationships. So we're looking at maybe some of these domains, and we're saying in the domain of career, perhaps I'm very, very mature in that particular arena. And by that, I don't mean that your consciousness is that maybe your career is good and you're getting paid a lot of money. I'm talking about that your career is closest to the authentic you that you are. In other words, you are shaping your career and your life around what internally gives you joy, because you see people in careers who say, well, yeah, I'm totally mature in this career and I'm doing this great job. I have all this money, but I'm not happy. So what I'm talking about is the expansion of that joy and the core essence of who we are. So we come in with joy and we come in with love. And how do we expand that from the core of who we are? Well, it becomes very, very difficult because of the laws that are put on by man, right? We make all this stuff up. We put all these pressures on everybody in the world, and we apply these pressures to people, and then people believe that they have to be a certain way. And typically our families more, more than not, right, are kind of forcing us into being who they think we should be, and they don't necessarily like the fact that we are going in a different direction. In fact, I was watching this Netflix show, right, this cheesy, I don't know, movie, right? I like to watch movies. It's very relatable and easy to talk about this stuff. But the daughter, she is part of this very wealthy family, and they want her. She wasn't very smart, okay? So in the show they're saying, well, she wasn't too bright. And she wants to be a chef, and her parents think that that's just like a low status thing. They want her to go to business school and run the business and all this stuff. And so she rebels because she herself does not want to do that, but the pressure of the family is coming upon her. Now, most times and oftentimes, we wear the pressure, and we, instead of standing up, because it's not easy, it's harder to say, no, that is not who I am, than it is to just bend and fold to what people think we should be. And so we have all these people in the world just doing what they think they should because somebody told them or dictated to them that that's what they should do. And then they're miserable. So when we tap into our essence and our consciousness, when we start to peel back the layers and really root into who we are at the core of who we are, then we can start to blossom from that space. So a lot of it is pulling out the weeds, getting through this murk and mist and all the crap that, has been, we have allowed ourselves to take on, and letting go. And even the letting go process is not easy. And I've talked about this before, because looking at how society has constructed, how are dictating how our life should be. You say, well, okay, you're going to do this, you're going to be this, and you have a family now, and now you're going to have to, get a great job, and you're going to have to da 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 da, all the pressures, right? Come on. And you're doing this thing, and then all of a sudden you have an awakening, right? And I think GP man, you've been through this, obviously. You wake up and you go, oh shit, this is not it. I don't want to do this. And you just can't carry that load anymore. It's almost as if it's just too much one day. And you just want to throw it to the garbage, and you just want to change your whole life. Right. And most people call this a midlife crisis. And we see it with individuals who have gone on with their life doing shit they don't want to do. Excuse my language, but it's true. People are just going on doing things they don't want to do, out of what society said they had to be or their family had to be, right? Good morning, Ruthless. um, and they go on doing it. And so those pressures, so we get to this point, but here's the deal, and this is why it becomes even more hard, right? To kind of throw that to the wayside, is that now people are dependent on us to be this certain way. And if we let it all go and crumble, there's a fear of what is going to happen if we just let it all go. What would happen? And to most people it feels like a death, and it is. And that's why we call this a rite of passage. We call it a spiritual death, a death and a rebirth. even religion still holds some of these ceremonies for people who are going through death and rebirth, right? You're going through a change of life where maybe you're realizing you've gone your whole entire life doing shit you don't want to do and you're not happy. And you're like, what did I do? I just spent this many years of my life doing stuff that doesn't really even I don't even enjoy. And I just did it because society told me I had to. Well, now I have to change because if I don't, I'm going to have a nervous breakdown. I'm going to get sick, whatever it is. And you just can't do it anymore. So you see this happening and they can't keep up anymore. The anxiety gets high, whatever happens to them. And some people will continue to do it. They will continue and they'll just get sick. And then they end up sick and they end up, so they're not really living this joyful life. Now, some people go through a whole crisis, right? What they call the midlife crisis, and they go out and they buy crazy stuff to try to find that happiness. They're searching, they're out there trying to figure out who the hell they are because they never really got to do that. And then and then they buy you hear about it all the time, right? So you hear about these and not just men, but it's easier to say men because that's kind of who they focus on in society, but they go and I want a motorcycle. There you go. That's exactly what I was just gonna say. They go out and buy these fast cars or they buy some kind of, and there you go. And that's fine, right? But really what is it that it's telling you? Okay. You're looking great, keep it up. I started working out too. Yay, good. Yeah, I mean, I was doing. I won't get off topic with the whole health. But stress can kill. It totally can kill. It totally can. So, so again, when we're looking at it, and we get to this sort of midlife crisis, right? I wasn't allowed during my marriage to get a motorcycle. Yeah, see, you weren't allowed. Do you see what I'm saying? So you in authentic you said, this is what I want to do. Maybe I like the road, I like freedom, I like the wind on my face, I like to be whatever it is, right? And so you yourself were not able to be fully you, which is like, right, that's like crap. It's like, what do you mean I can't get a motorcycle? It's my life. It's what I want. And so I just like speed. Well, there you go. And you like speed. You have a need for speed. And so basically what has happened is that those layers get pushed on us and the essence of us gets almost crushed, but it never goes away. It'll always be there. And but letting go becomes the hard part, right? Because now and most people at, mid age have a family and they're like, well, I just can't throw that down the toilet. Like I can't just walk away and let go completely. Now there's this huge responsibility to figure out how do I make it look different. Typically by midlife, your kids are old enough, right? And then maybe serious conversations need to happen. But that's not always the case. And so we see this happening in society, and it's this perpetual cycle that goes on and on and on and on and on. And people are not living their best life. Okay. Yeah, that's why I couldn't get one wife and kids. There you go. So, and is it a bad thing, right, wrong? No, there's a lesson there, right, for you to understand. But how do we start to get to the authentic self after all of this craziness is going on in our life and everything else? And part of it's letting go of what we think needs to happen or the way it needs to look. That's not an easy task because you're going to have so many people, right, telling you what to do, how to do it, or if you don't get their advice and you start doing all this stuff, they're going to say you're crazy, something's wrong with you. And the reality is that something was wrong with you because you weren't living your authentic life. And I don't want to say wrong, but it was always there. You just never had a chance to be you because everybody made you wrong for it. But it's going to express itself some way, somehow. And it could be stress, or it could be midlife crisis, or it could be totally going berserk. Some people just totally go berserk and they call this a mental issue and all that stuff, and it's not. It's the self is trying to express itself. The core essence of who you are is trying to be recognized. And it's like, I've had enough. You didn't listen to me. You didn't listen when I said this. You didn't listen when I said that. Now you're in this predicament. And now I'm going to force you into it. It's kind of crazy. So, this goes to the conversation of determinism and free will. We do have a choice, and but also there's something that's predetermined, I believe, as well. So I think there's a both and how it gets played out. And if we don't listen to that calling, if we don't listen to that essence of who we truly feel we are, we end up doing damage, more damage than good, to be honest with you. It ends up being worse. And the longer we wait, the more damage and the harder it becomes. So if you saw a kid who fought for who they wanted to be, okay, and a child who was like, this is my path, this is who I am, this is what I'm up to, and they continued to do that, you would see that they would create a magnificence in the world. That's why they say, oh, there's these prodigies. We were all prodigies. It's just that the parents of these prodigies recognized and allowed that essence to blossom the way the child wanted to. Okay, that's what happened. We all had our unique um, genius within us, but then we may not have had parents who understood this. And then they try to condition you to be what they wanted you. And sometimes we have parents who want to live vicariously through their kids, so they force them into doing the things they wanted to do. And that's really not what the child wanted. So, the conditioning, and that's why we have mom and daddy issues most of the time. But, you know, if your parents let you truly evolve into your essence, I'm sure things would look a lot different. They would look different. And so we see this, I think it was Mozart, is a story we were talking about, right? That his father played, and he was a well known musical artist. And apparently, Mozart or Beethoven, I can't remember which one it was. Anyway, was sleeping in the other room. I think it was Beethoven, actually. And his father was playing at a party for a bunch of people, and he didn't play the last note, and he didn't close out the song. And you know how that is. It's called dissonance, right? Or it's called there's no completion of the song. The song just feels like there's I can't remember the name in music. Anyway, Beethoven was upstairs sleeping. He was at like 3 years old, apparently. And he came downstairs and he finished the song because it bothered him that it wasn't finished. And he played it perfectly and ended it perfectly with the right keys and notes. Now, here's the deal. His father was a musician. His father didn't force him into being a musician. He loved music. But because his father was a musician, he let him explore. And there you go. So the genius was already there. So for you, there was a genius already there. Now, your parents probably didn't recognize it, didn't see it, and maybe they didn't even care. I don't know. Right? And then what ends up happening is you are fighting to be who you want to be, and society's telling you, no, don't do it. Somebody like that girl, I want to be a chef, and they're like, no, that's not a good thing. But she could be the best chef in the world because that's inherently who she is, right? So tapping into that and recognizing it and understanding what that is for you, like that, the need for speed, what does that even mean? Maybe there's something else deeper there, right? And maybe it's, the freedom or something else, right? That ability to be mobile, the ability to not have to stay grounded in one place forever, right? That's what I think of. That's because I like to move around. I'm like, I can't just be in one spot all the time. But, that's me. But I'm just saying, dig deep into understanding that essence. What is it for you? And how do you re-tap into it? Now, I'm not saying to go deconstruct your whole life. I would never say such a thing because it's not easy. And it's not easy task. It's not. I like the adrenaline. Yeah, the rush of things. Coffee. So tapping into that, understanding that, knowing how to maneuver through that, Giving yourself permission to really tap into who your essence is, what your essence is, and then start to drive yourself in that direction. So me peeling back the layers of my onion, that's what I call it, and getting to the authentic core of who I am. And that core being something very different than what I, had imagined, and things that I didn't get to explore um, as much because of the social conditioning. Um, but at the same token, the part of me that I did get to explore, that is my essence without letting the conditioning of society, force its thing upon me, was my autonomy, for me to be independent and free. And, within my own family, within my own life, and do what I want to do. And I fought for that because that was important to me. And, I shouldn't have had to fight for that, but I did. But that's how society's constructed. Now, I'm not saying my all my family was like that, but then having this recognition of my own genius, which was not recognized and not fully supported, which is now being recognized and supported because I've done the work for so long, that my family can now see me for me rather than who they expect me to be. And that takes time because it takes a healing within the family. Not every family comes with, them seeing the essence of their child and then letting that evolve into whatever it's going to be. It's not typically how it happens. It's more like you need to go to work and get a job. You need to go to school. You need to do all this stuff, or I liked school. So that's kind of my thing. I'm always in learning and education, where I got the opposite end. You're too old to be in school. uh, and then I go, well, you ain't paying my bills and I don't ask you for anything. So why do you think you have an opinion here, right? Not to be mean, but it's the truth. And I didn't listen. I did what I wanted, right? So that fight for independence, and I had to fight for it in a lot of ways, to not be told what I should be doing, but let me be who I be. So hopefully this was helpful, because that's kind of where I'm at anyway, as well, in terms of really going back to the core essence of who I am and rediscover. So totally shed my skin into something new. And that's part of alchemy. We're never staying exactly the same. We're shedding back the layers, and we're taking off the layers, and we're letting go of the old so that the new can start to breathe. We're giving breath to new life where it can start to grow and blossom. And the new phase of blossoming is, I've taken out all the weeds, and now what's coming up are the beautiful scented, not that weeds aren't beautiful, but the scented flowers, or whatever it is, that the essence of who you are is evolving and actually blossoming into the magnificent you. Now that takes time, and it's not easy. Of course, I say this all the time because it's not. Hey Linga, how are you? Been a while. Been some time, mate. I just thought I would talk in your language, okay? Mate. How's Australia? How are things going out there? Still crazy as ever. Um, so let's see. I understand. I understand. Yes. Oh Lord, I know. The world is in a weird, crazy space. Um, and but we can create, and I've talked about this, our own sort of bubble. And it's not easy, but it's possible. Anything's possible, right? Um, but not so easy. So peel back the layers, get to the essence, that core. And I'm going to start looking deeper into the acorn theory. I think I like this. Now, I'm very reluctant to just take on anybody's theory, and I always have issues with models and stuff like that. And so I'm always giving my opinion, especially when I'm in class with my professors. I'm like, I don't agree. I don't agree with this. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. But I do agree with this, this, and this, right? So I'm kind of the one who stirs the pot. And a lot of the reason why these theoretical frameworks don't necessarily work for me is because they're from the perspective of, as you guys know, a white man, or in America, because and not only that, but it's from a scientific perspective, and right now science doesn't have the answers, and so we're finally getting to a place where the mystical and the magical mystical piece can start to come back in. The imagination can start to come back in to kind of talk about these things, because we need it. We need both, science, and we need the mystical magical. So reconstructing that, but we've taken it out, we've sucked it out, and so when I look at a lot of these models, I'm like, it's not a model that I would use. But I would say that there are pieces of the model that might work, and so the acorn theory is something that I really want to look into, because what I like about it is that it starts at the base and the core of who we are, that we are the seed. Now I've created um a chart and models of the seed, and how the seed is already there within us. We came from a seed, right? And that seed of potential of who we are has already been there since the beginning, and that we evolve from that seed into who we get to be. But we can't always blossom, because again, weeds are put into our garden, and so we're unable to blossom, right? Hello, John. Um, so looking at the acorn theory, and I think I will be doing that, and then reporting out, because I'm also on a sort of an idea of preach what you practice, which is alchemy in motion, not just practice what you preach, which I don't even think that phrase should exist, because to be honest with you, um rather than conceptualize it, why don't you experience it? And I think we'd have a lot more wise society if people did that. If they preached what they practiced, if they actually went out and experienced the world and then reported out, rather than looking at the world, observing it and reporting out, but not really experiencing it. So preaching what you practice, I think, has more merit, and it gives us the opportunity to embody and to experience the world, and then bring wisdom back from the experience. Totally different way of thinking about that. So I was thinking about doing a workshop called Preach What You Practice. I'm always wanting to do these workshops. I'm like, I don't know if anyone would show up, but I want to do them because I think it's valuable. So go out there and practice. Okay. Practice, practice, practice. Kung Fu is mastery through time and effort, which is practice. That means it doesn't matter what you're doing, just practice and you'll get better at it. And you start to hone in on your skills. So, whatever it is you're practicing, go out and practice. You can also find my course is ready to go, setting goals and achieving them. You can find it at spiritandbrew@gmail.com on my website. There's a link. You just click on it and you can get to the actual course. And I'm going to be doing some discount codes for individuals that are they get on the podcast regularly, if you're interested in that. Um, but starting to build on that, because that's just the basic foundation of how you can start to construct your life the way that you want to. Um, okay, so there you have it. I love you guys. Have a fantastical day. And I will see you. Well, I'll be on vacation for a while. I need a vacation. I know I took a time off from here, which I needed, but I'm actually gonna go away and take a vacation, not just off here. So maybe not next week. Maybe I will get on during my vacation, just because I love being with you guys, and maybe I won't. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, so there you go. Have a great day. And of course, I will be seeing you soon. Bye bye.